Hey guys, Tammy here, and in this video, we're going to talk about patience is a virtue. Now, I know this is a phrase that we've all heard that gets tossed out a lot, but honestly, when you're in front of court or experts in your child custody case especially, this is something that's very important to practice. And our tendency is to want to just tell everything we know and to make sure that the experts in the court understand everything that's happening with our high conflict ex. But this is when it's most important to practice your patience. Now, if you'd like more help and support, you can always go to my page, divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching and book a free strategy session to learn about how I might be able to better support you in this process. So when we're talking about patience, this is a really hard thing for most clients that I see. They kind of want to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And the problem with that is, when you're dealing with the court, you kind of want to lead a horse to water, and let them drink, right? We've heard that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And what we're trying to do a lot of times when we're giving all these facts and we're trying to tell our whole story and we're trying to make sure the court understands all the craziness that's happening around these issues, we're trying to make the court drink or make that child custody expert drink. Here's the problem with that. The way that the court and the child custody expert approach this is through their own analytical lens. And so what their job is to decipher what's actually happening in a given situation. And if you step back and you think about that, it will make sense to you. Okay, yeah, this person is essentially investigating, right? They're conducting their own investigation into what's actually happening, what the dynamic is, how it's impacting the child, and what things they can potentially recommend or put in place to fix some of those issues. And so they're not going to sort of drink, if you will, at the timeline you think they should, at the amount that they should, and in the way that they should. They're approaching that in their own way. And so they're expecting to be led down the path by you. In other words, they're expecting to get some facts and some information to help them arrive at their analysis. But them arriving at their analysis is their own process. They don't go in and just look at, oh, party A says this, party B says this. I'm just going to go with what they're saying, and I'm going to just make orders. Okay, they can't even really do that because usually what party A is saying is a complete 180, right? For most of us, from what party B is saying. And so it's almost like when you watch those TV shows where you'll see somebody being interrogated and they're asking them all these questions. That's kind of what the court is trying to do in this situation. They're trying to get down to what is actually happening in the case. When we start to throw all of this information at them and we're trying to just bombard them with the whole story of everything that's happened and everything this person's done, then what happens is they have more path to walk, to use the previous analogy. They have a longer path to walk to get to the water to where they're going to drink. And so by you bombarding them with everything, you're doing two things. One, you're making it harder for them to get to the bottom of what's actually happening. And you're also sort of clouding their judgment because what you think is important isn't necessarily what they think is important. And so I've talked about this a lot, about getting educated and making sure you understand what is important to the court and what they are looking for. But the reason that patience becomes important is because I find that if you can sort of lay high-level facts out there and then allow the court or the expert or the child custody evaluator or whoever you're dealing with the opportunity to ask questions about those pieces that they feel are important, you will usually get a lot better result in your case, because then they're gathering the facts that they feel are important for them to know how to make this decision, instead of them sort of trying to sift through mentally all the different facts that you're pouring on them. This is why the patience becomes really, really important, because again, we think that we want to pour out everything that we have because we really want this person to understand, what we're dealing with in our high conflict X. But really, that just makes you look like you're the difficult one. And it makes them often look at you like you're the one that's crazy, because you sit down and you go, oh, well, this happened first, and then this happened, and then this, 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 and then this. And especially if you're in court and you're on a limited time, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get cut off. And the court or the expert or whoever you're dealing with is going to start to sense the fact that they feel like maybe you are crazy. Maybe the way this other person is painting you is the truth. Why? Because you seem like you are, because you're so desperate to pour out all of these things. And so if you can take a deep breath, and especially if you're sitting in close proximity with an expert, if you can learn to even let silence fill the room, which I know is uncomfortable for a lot of people. But if you will put your little fact out there, and I teach this to clients a lot, I call it kind of a breadcrumb technique, where you put your fact out there, like, the other parent is frequently late for the visitation. And instead of going into the other parent's frequently late for the visitation, it's very upsetting to the child, and the child starts crying and having this meltdown, and then they don't even want to go with dad because or mom or whoever, but because they're so distraught by the time that parent shows up, and it just becomes this big meltdown, and then they don't want to go, and then we end up having conflict and all these things. And instead of that, just putting out the first piece of the other parent is frequently late for the visitation, and then waiting. And then here's the magic that happens when you can have the patience. Usually the other person will say, can you tell me more about that? Or can you give me an example of that? And so that tells you that that's something that they are concerned about, that they want to know more about, that they want more facts about. If it's something that they don't really ask a question about, and they go, oh, okay, well, what other problems do you observe? And they move you on from that issue, that tells you that that issue wasn't very important, right? And so you can use this technique as a way to help you hone in, like I said, especially with an expert where you're sitting face to face with them. This is a little bit easier. In court is where the education really comes in, because you have to figure out in advance what pieces are important to the court. Because if you're throwing everything at the court and not deciphering what's important and what's not, then again, you're overwhelming your judge. You're probably looking like you're the crazy person because you're so desperate to get all the information in, and you're not really being effective. And so you need to have the patience to sit down and educate yourself and understand what things are important. But when you're sitting in front of that expert and you can have that level of patience and control, and I always tell clients, take a list in with you to that interview of notes and just say to the person, hey, I made some notes. I brought them in with me to sort of help keep my mind on track of what I'm focusing on. By pausing and sort of having that patience and taking that deep breath in between, instead of feeling like you've got to get it all out, then that will allow the expert to ask detailed questions about the areas that they feel are important. Because the areas that they feel are important are where you're going to succeed in your case. The areas that aren't important to them, if you're bombarding them with information, you're not helping them or you, because they're not really concerned about that. And I'd love to tell you that they're always concerned about what we're concerned about, but unfortunately, no. Again, they're coming at it from a very different perspective. If you can allow that space and just sort of allow that discomfort to happen, then you're going to be able to provide key details that are important in the situation and in the decision maker's evaluation of your case, and you won't be wasting time on things that you don't need to worry about. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a little perspective on how to deal with this. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like and also subscribe to the channel so you get notified as we release new videos. And don't forget, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching if you'd like some more support from me. See you in the next video.